Bob Bashara case. He's back in court this morning, arraigned on first-degree murder charges and ordered to stand trial in March for the death of his wife, Jane. The court entered a plea of not guilty on his behalf. Bashara is accused of hiring a hitman to kill his wife, again, Jane. This is 2012. Again, it's a bizarre case filled with sex, secrets, lies. Last week, we heard testimony from people who offered a glimpse into the lifestyle, the alternative lifestyle that Bashara allegedly was living, one of bondage, domination, sadomasochism, and all his plans to start a new life with his mistress. Jeff Gold back with me, great criminal defense attorney. Jeff's been following this one. All right, Jeff. See, I mean, the judge really laid it out there, basically, as we listened last week to the evidence that the state has, basically saying evidence is pretty strong and it's pretty, there's a lot of it, let's say.
Well, you got the doer, you got the handyman that he supposedly hired, and once you've got that, boy, you usually have the defendant. Now, if you can destroy that witness, well, then maybe it crumbles a bit. But I want to tell you something. When you got the guy who did it, and he says, look, he hired me to do it, I'm just the handyman, and that's his wife, why would I want to kill her? You've got a pretty good case to begin with.
All right, so let's, you and I talked about this. The sex side, the alternative lifestyle, bondage, discipline, sadomasochism, and that, we hear the different terminologies, that he had his mistress and she was his slave, he was the master, and the whole domination bit. Yeah, that gets our attention. How much does that play into the trial? Or, Jeff, is it all about the handyman that you just mentioned?
Well, no, I mean, the handyman is the evidence against him, that he did it. The rest of it, perhaps is a motive. The viewers should know by now that motive is not required to be proved by the state, but it's very helpful to explain why something would happen. In most cases like this, you would expect, the wife to be killing the husband when she finds out, he has an affair. So we don't know what really happened. Perhaps we know she didn't want to go along with this S&M lifestyle, the internet-based, S&M and all that. And we know he had a mistress. Maybe she was going to expose him. Maybe she was going to, do something that he felt he had to stop, and then hired the handyman. But you're certainly, that's going in as motive in this case, that it was an alternative lifestyle. It'll go in to dirty him up, in practicality, but in law, it will go in as motive.
How much does it, you've been a part of cases. How much do you want the jury, though, to know, to take them into the mind of a potential criminal like a Bob Bashara, so they can, okay, that's why he would do this. He wanted his wife out of the way so he could start this new lifestyle. Bob's Dungeon, they bought a house and they were going to have, maybe even a third woman move in to forward this lifestyle.
Well, that's exactly right, Mike. I mean, the jury wants to understand what happened. And even though motive is not required of the state, sometimes acts are shown, even prior bad acts like this sadomasochism is shown to prove intent, to prove method, motive, plan. We call it modus operandi. So, yeah, they want to understand it, even though it's not required in the law. And that's the way the state's going to get it in, although the practical effect is also to dirty the guy up and say he's kind of a crazy guy or an alternative guy at very least. I don't think that the sex itself really, hurts that much with juries. I mean, we saw this in Jodi Arias. What happens is not that there's sex. Travis Alexander in Jodi's case, was a participant in all that, but that didn't change the case that Jodi was guilty. Well, in this case, they want to use it to show motive. I think that they can do it, and I think it will affect the jury.
Got it. Jeff, our one-man justice squad, nice work. And another thing, Bashara is in jail right now because he was convicted of trying to have the handyman who killed his wife killed in jail. So let's not forget that fact as well.
And they won't know that. This jury won't know that.
Got it. Ooh, good point there. Okay, Jeff, thanks again. We'll chat throughout the afternoons. We're keeping an eye on that case. Also, this reaction pouring in.